Hey, I'm Josh Roach. This is Roach Fab Garage, and in today's video, we're gonna cut out the old rusty rocker panels in the 1946 Ford, weld in new patch panels, as well as in the floor, and seal it with seam sealer and primer them up so it's ready to paint and ready to go together. Well, I got the outer rocker panels here cut out. What's rusty? So here's the old ones. There's the outer, and here's the top of it. The inner panel is trimmed down too, also to get all the rusty parts out. So the center of the rocker here, we got it down to good metal. We're just going to clean it up a little and then shape the new inner panels to fit. Got quite a bit of rust going up front here, so will be some additional patchwork. Initially, we're just going to get this inner and outer, and we'll just work around as we need to. Also, I got quite a bit up in here that needs replaced, but we'll go as far as the patch panels will go on the rocker panels, and then we'll keep on moving along. These new rocker panels, they just came with the car when I bought it. So replacement panels seem to fit pretty good. What I am going to do is take, this is the old outer panel, the top of it that we cut off. So the new panel comes oversized on the top here quite significantly. So I'm just going to trace out using the old panel here, and we'll cut it to match the old panel and get her to fit. Alright, so I clamped the top section of the old rocker panel to the new rocker panel. Just used a marker to trace out where this edge lines up. About as close as I could. Just kind of rough. We're going to cut it and final shape it anyways. But just some clamps. We're going to pull those off and cut her up. The outer rocker panel, got it all loosely fit up. That's our rough fit up. Got a few spots. Just got to bring it in a little bit with the grinder, mark those out, and then clean this edge up here so we got a nice straight seam. And we'll be done with the outer skin. That's kind of the hardest fit up job, so we'll do that one first, and then I'll tackle the inner. All right, here's the final fit up of the outer rocker panel. Got all of my holes cut for spot welds, and got everything fit up nice and tight. Actually fits really good. So done with the outer, and now I want to get under here. I want to have this done before I weld the rocker in, the outer panel, and then I also have to put in this inner piece and weld that in first so I have something to spot weld too. Alright, I got this piece here all ready to weld. Just going to put a couple tacks in. It's a real tight fit. Smack with a hammer a few times. Should push right into place. And then we also have the lower rocker all ready to weld. So, a couple tacks. Tap, tap with the hammer. A few more tacks, and then we'll full weld it. Well, I got the inner rocker panel all cleaned up here and welded. Not a perfect weld, but it'll be covered up, so not a big deal. Got some chassis and roll bar paint. It's what I had on the shelf, and you can paint it without primer. So put it on there to protect everything, and then also on the inside of the panel there, just gets spot welded on there. So once that dries enough, I'll mark where my spot welds need to be, and clean the paint off there, and just plug weld it in place. I took measurements of the car, and then this profile here, which is the back of the rocker panel. This is the passenger side patch panel, and then basically trace that out onto this piece of sheet metal, and we're going to cut it out and bend it up in the vise to match this profile 18 inches long. So this steel is 16 gauge, and it's just a little thick for me to try and bend it in my vise by hand as it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to score it with the grinder and the cutoff wheel and bend it, and then once it's bent and looking good, I'll weld up the scored section and it'll be like nothing ever happened. Well, I cut it a bit deeper than I wanted to and it split here, but that's okay. We'll just weld her right back up and she'll be fine. All right, here is that rear section rocker panel all welded up. It was a little too thick to bend. It's 16 gauge. Where I went, all they had was 16, 22, and 24. So better to go too thick than too thin. So I left this top lip on here, mostly just to keep this panel straight. After looking at it the way I have the other one cut, that top lip isn't needed, so we're going to grind all these welds, grind this top lip off, and then fit it up in the car. Got a couple patches cut out here from just some cardstock paper I had laying around. I'm going to trace that onto some steel I got sitting around and weld her in. Alright, so before I put this bottom panel in, if you look up here, it's hard to see, the light moved. If you look up here, you can see this, it's kind of like a little C-channel here. This is the support for the B-pillar that goes all the way up the side of the door. And this was rusted, I cut it off. Wasn't sure exactly, but looking at it now, I'm pretty sure, and looking at the other side, that this came all the way down the edge of this panel to the bottom of the panel to give support here, keep that that corner rigid there, and also provide support for the body mount. So this is a body mount and kind of helps push that force all the way up through the door. So I wanted to do that a little earlier, but with this B-pillar floating around, didn't have much structure. Wasn't sure exactly how that was going to land, so I put the other panels in to mount it by, aligning it with the door and everything. So now, just got me a little paper cutout here, and did my best to cut it to size. And get what I want here. Now, it looked like it may have previously maybe tapered into that, into the lower rocker there. Doesn't really matter, I just want to give some vertical support, so I'm going to go from where it's cut off just straight down and use just this piece of paper to mimic the contour of that little piece of C-channel up there. And so we're gonna cut it out of some steel now and fit her in place. I have my paper template traced out onto the 16 gauge steel for that support, so we're just gonna cut her out and bend her up and see how she fits. Alright, now that I got it cut off with the death wheel, just having to bend it in the vise. Got my lines a little crooked there, so I'll try and correct that. Just ain't that the prettiest weld you ever seen. Yeah, not quite. I'm laying on the floor here. There's very little access for me to get my helmet in here to see, and the torch and my hand and everything. So just kind of was almost literally shooting blind. So did get a pretty good fit up, and everything lines up good. Although it's ugly, it is structural. It goes all the way to the roof on that channel, all the way down, and now it's tied in with the body mount. I'm gonna weld this little bottom tab to the rocker panel yet, and then it'll be fully tied in and good to go. Alright, now that I got that B-pillar support all finished out, all that's left is to cap the bottom here. So I took a couple pieces of paper here, taped it together so it'd be long enough, and used the old dirty finger trick to mark out the shape and cut it out. And now we're going to cut this out of a piece of steel and fill it in. Alright, for this panel here, I'm using the original one. Had if you look on the passenger side, this still has some steel left, has a bunch of bead rolls this direction on the panel, and I don't have a bead roller, a good way to do that right now. So what I did do is take this, this is just a piece of that trunk patch panel that already has a bead roll kind of going diagonally, and I'm just going to use that, and no one will see it, but that bead roll will add just a little bit of rigidity and got it in there. So traced it out, did one for each side from that trunk panel. This one I had to draw twice, but we'll get that cut out and install. Alright, got the panel test fit up. It's a real rough cut here, but marking areas to trim, and then this side is intentionally too long. I have to put a step and then roll it up to match the edge of the panel. So we'll kind of get started on that using the other side for reference. Alright, so to make that other panel, for the driver's side, we're looking at the passenger side here. I'm just kind of measuring out the step. It'll be hard to see there, but it's about a 1/2 inch from the edge, but it is only about 1/4 inch step. So we'll put that little bend in there so it looks like what it's supposed to, and also I believe that's part of how it mates up with the running boards, if I ever put running boards back on it. Got the panel all laid out where my bends need to be. Just throw it in the vise and hammer away. Alright, got both the passenger side and driver side cut and bent up at the same time. Since they're exact same piece, it's kind of a pain in the butt. I had limited materials for it. I just decided to make them at the same time. So this is just out of leftover steel from the trunk pan patch. This one, hair pitted, but it's solid steel. I think this is 19 or 20 gauge. So it'll do the trick. I got this panel that goes on the underside of this rear corner. Got it all cut out, trimmed up, and all my bends made. So it's got a little bit of a step that's in it. So I had to match. That kind of mates up with the running boards if I ever put in, and matches on with the bottom of the door. Also, this step is on the front, so I'm just going to weld to the bottom of the rocker. Spot welds to the bottom of the rocker. Curved edge here. The fit up on it is actually really good. Getting a good fit up, for me at least, has been my struggle is more of the patience rather than the actual skill or ability to do it. I struggle with being patient. So this actually fits up really nice. Lines up on the edge. I'll have a filler in the corner, and then on this gap in the back. So now that's fit up, I'm gonna get some paint on kind of the middle and the bottom, just so it's Makes it easier, hard to access from the inside. And then clean the edges and bubblegum glue her in. Alright, I finally got the lower rocker all fit up and ready to weld in. So I got it held in with the jack here. And we're just going to tack it in place there a little at a time, keeping it nice and cool, and little by little we'll get her glued together. Well, not the prettiest welds, but got her done and stuck together. Got most of it. I'm going to put a little filler in there and weld that gap, but I ran out of welding gas. So for now, I'm just going to clean up the weld, see how what I got so far looks, and then we'll look at getting some gas tomorrow. Alright, got the panel welded in. It's all smooth, grinded smooth, and ready to throw some primer on this edge. Ran out of gas, so I still have to run a fill in this corner, this front edge, and then there's a small spot on the gap. I made a filler for it, but ran out of welding gas before I could finish. But there it is. This was all just a big, huge, gaping hole before, like no steel. So now it's actual solid steel. So I got the driver's side mostly buttoned up onto the passenger side. Got the old rusty rocker panel remnants cut off here, and so probably could have been patched, but it's pretty rough. And car came with a nice little patch panel, so we're gonna put it on. And so I cut out some of the old. I'm going to have to cut this one a little bit farther back yet. Passenger side isn't as bad as the driver's side, so maybe I won't have to do this whole back section like I did on the passengers or on the driver's side, but we'll see. Alright, well, I haven't really videoed much on the passenger side, pretty much the same as the driver's, but got the B pillar locked in here now and welded to the new rocker. And got all the rusty crap cut out of the bottom there. Next step will be getting this panel here welded up on the bottom there, and then quite a bit of patchwork on the back side here needed. Yeah, she was rusty. Alright, so we're finishing up the rocker panels now on the passenger side. All I have left is basically this is cut off from the rear of the rocker panel, kind of underneath the rear quarter window. So this section is beyond what my patch panel had, so we're just going to make it up from this piece of sheet steel I have here. So it's about the right width. So we're just going to take some measurements off of this and use it to make a new panel. So, you know, always keep your rusty cut off pieces here, as you know, they'll make your templates for your new parts you got to make. Alright, well, I'm just going to take some measurements here and kind of figure out what size this needs to be. Alright, now that we got the measurements, we're just going to mark it out here. Now it's marked out where we need to cut. here, and then where our bends need to be, we're just gonna cut her out here with the grinder. Alright, now that I got it all cut to shape, got marked out where we're going to bend, I'm going to use the old vise and a big hammer and beat the living crap out of it for a little while. When you don't have a press brake, this works, especially with a thicker gauge steel. You really got to wail on it. It might look a little crappy at first, especially with something that's larger than the vise here, but it'll get there eventually. Alright, well my phone died partially through the video of making this on that time lapse, but you know, not much, really anything crazy to show. Beat the crap out of it in the vise for about a half an hour to get the basic shape, and then I cut the edge down to match with what's needed on the car. There's a lot of extra here, left some extra length. And then drilled holes for spot welds. Bent this edge over, put a little weld in the bottom here. Ground it smooth, and we're good to go. So, you can make some pretty decent panels from thick material like the 16 gauge in a vise with a hammer. It sucks, but it can be done. And we did it. And now we're ready to install. We got that lower quarter, I guess, inner rocker panel that we just bent up, got it all welded into place. So there it is from the top. And from the bottom. So we got a spot welded on the bottom. And hold on there. And then welded in the other panel. Bit of a gap there, not the prettiest thing, but we'll get it cleaned up and it ain't gonna move nowhere. I do have to get it painted up and cleaned up and ready for this panel to go over top of it. Alright, here is that lower panel for the bottom of this rear quarter panel. And it's all tacked together. So I ran out of welding gas, so again I need to get a bigger bottle. So I'll finish welding that up. Panel fits nice and tight on there. And we'll weld into the spot welds there on that bottom side. And we'll be good to go. I'm going to run some seam sealer in this joint where the rocker panel comes in on the top. I'm ready to throw some paint and primer down on this floor after I got sealed up, but I did have a few spots where I missed, did my patch, still need to grind the weld there. Kind of at this edge here, there's some weld that needs ground. And then kind of the same deal over here, and then in the back there. So I was cleaning up, getting ready to throw some paint down, and realized there's a little rust hole there that I missed. It's the only really decent hole I see that I missed over here, but I do see there's a pinhole here where I ground, just a spot of porosity. All the rest of the holes look to be there intentionally. All right, got the whole floor done and coated in that rust block and then primered just with a spray can self-etching primer. So just all of this that was had some rust on it and been cleaned up. So before too long, the rest of the interior will get primer and then actual white paint on it. So I'll probably just roll on for the interior. That's that kind of self-leveling tractor paint, so it actually rolls on really nice and kind of self-levels. So that's probably how I'll do this, but for now that'll seal everything in and prevent any future rust.